Hi there, it is Jacqueline coming back to you to share some more information with you about another incredible expert. We have the opportunity and the privilege to work with Cathy. She is an expert for our Discover Love Academy because of one of our other experts that just knew she had to be part of it. And that is one of my greatest excitements when I see people respond to others' suggestions and why I wanted to bring so many great experts to you. The reason that I see people like Cathy coming and contributing is the support that you deserve to move forward in your own journey from being single and then looking for a relationship. Cathy is a Reiki master, and she's going to be talking about energy healing. So get ready to learn a new way to heal and be ready for that love story that's coming soon. So Cathy, can you talk about a little bit about yourself and what got you into being a Reiki master? That is such a commitment and a powerful journey, I'm sure, that got you to this point.
Thank you. I was just really honored to have the opportunity to come across you and meet you. I had been recently working on self-love for myself, and I really love working with couples, and I work with couples daily in my energy healing practice. So I thought this was going to be a great fit.
All right, so Cathy, we want to hear what it is that brought you to becoming a Reiki master. I'm sure you have an amazing story that inspired you to learn and really be ready to share with our amazing singles on their journey to find love.
Yes, so what happened to me, I had a second marriage that I came out of, and it wasn't emotionally good marriage. My second husband ended up having a personality disorder. And when I came out of that marriage, I was pretty beaten up. I had a lot of trauma. It felt like I was kind of walking on eggshells. I was crying a lot. There were a lot of things that I felt were my fault, and I wasn't able to move past them and myself get into a healthy relationship. So I sought out some sessions with a Reiki master, and after just a couple sessions, I received some very powerful healings because they were able to work with cutting some of my past connections to my second husband. And then I was able to breathe and actually move forward. And so it just really fascinated me. I wanted to learn more. I always had a heart for health and healing. And I started actually working with the people that had worked on me. And I found that it was really easy for me, and I had a knack for it. And so I went through the different levels of Reiki, and now I'm a Reiki master, and I actually practice on other people daily to help them with all sort of issues that range from physical to phobias to traumas, and help them resolve those.
Well, this is such a perfect group for you to talk with. And I know our listeners are all peaked up and excited to hear what it is that being a Reiki master is. If you've never experienced it, I would love for people to understand just a little better what does it mean to help people through healing and release from that bad energy. I know as a professional matchmaker, I see people come in with so much baggage of energy of other people. One of my phrases I often say is, if you keep talking about your ex at a date, you might as well just pull up a chair for them, because it's like they're already on the date with you. But energetically, we tend to do that in many ways, whether it's a positive or a negative, but it's not necessarily the right thing to bring into a new relationship or even a potential relationship. So how does actually doing a Reiki session work?
Right. So I like to explain to people when I very first meet them, give them just a little scenario. We're kind of like fish. So fish actually have no idea that they live in water until you take them out, and then they want to get back in the water. So we as human beings, we actually live in energy. We just don't really know it. So energy work is something that our bodies breathe in and expel out, and we all have energetic bodies, and we have chakras too. So there's different chakras, which are energy centers on our body that breathe in and expel out, energy that we use and live off of. It's called life force energy. So by being a Reiki master, what I do is I channel divine energy from source that's divinely programmed, and it knows what it's doing. So when I apply it to a person, it's a slight touch or a no touch session. People are generally laying down during my sessions. I am working on their energy field, clearing out congested energy and replacing it with healing energy.
I love that. I think that is such a great description. And knowing that there's a way to actually do that. I myself am very, very spiritual. And so when I see somebody that, even when I take clients out flirting, I look around and I see their energy and I'm like, ooh, that's somebody we should not flirt with. Or that, wow, that one's got an inviting energy. And so there's different energies when you're out and about, but then to actually be in a session with you, it's very targeted, it's focused, and then it allows the person to release what's not working, but to fill it up with something that is better. So how long does a typical session last with you?
Usually about an hour is a typical session for energy work. Sometimes I do an hour and a half or 2 hours, depending on what's going on. I go through and scan and check each chakras. So chakras they look kind of like little birthday hats, but they have a point here and they span out and they vibrate back and forth. So we actually have about 130 chakras on our bodies. If you've ever heard of acupuncture, the place where an acupuncturist places the needle on your body, those are actually little mini chakras. Most Reiki practitioners work with the major chakras. A lot of us are familiar with the 7 chakras. I work with a few more, and they all have jobs and descriptions. They're kind of like if you can think of it as the different organs inside of your body, they're connected to those different organs and help work with them and communicate with the physical body. So an hour session, it just depends on what's going on and how much work needs to be done in the chakras. My job really is to help align the chakras so that everything is running smoothly. You kind of think of it as like pipes. Like if they get congested a little bit, I clear out the pipes so that the water can flow, so your energy can flow a little bit easier.
I love that description. That's a wonderful visual way to look at it. I've done acupuncture a couple times, so that makes sense with the needles and with the acupuncture alignment to you working with the Reiki work. So it is amazing to just how powerful our body is, and to know that talking to someone like you can make such a difference. Can you tell me a story, an inspiration, an experience that you've done with couples or with singles, just making that shift? I know that our listeners are like, this sounds fascinating, but how would that actually help with me going, hey, I'm kind of just anxious to go on a date, or I've just started dating somebody and I'm not sure if I'm supposed to get closer or not because I keep thinking about my ex, or I'm kind of scared to actually be vulnerable and really commit to this potential relationship. What are some of the things that you could suggest with people as using some of the Reiki tools in opening themselves up to letting go of some of this past, to let yourself move forward?
Right. So the first thing to keep in mind about energy work is 80% of what we physically feel shows up in the energetic body first and then transitions to the physical body. So if I can catch something in the energetic body and clean it out, then we just feel better physically. If you've ever heard of, 80% of physical illness comes from emotional issues, it's kind of the very similar concept. So when I work with chakras and energy fields, like I mentioned, they all have different functions, and the different chakras are doing different things. So energy is vibration, and so lower chakras vibrate at a lower level, and our higher chakras vibrate at a finer um,
Kind of frequency.
higher frequency. Right.
Got it. I love that.
Sometimes when they get stuck, energy can't flow. And if one chakra is out of balance or malfunctioning, then the other chakras are having to work harder to overcompensate, and then we get thrown off. So a really simple thing to talk about would be anxiety. Most anxiety comes from your solar plexus chakra, which is right where your ribs connect. We can't quite see here. But when that gets over exaggerated, it gets too big. And then the chakra right above that is your heart chakra. So then that gets squeezed and condensed, and then we're not able to calm ourselves down. So what I do a lot of times is clean out and normalize the solar plexus chakra, and I teach my clients just a couple breathing techniques and a couple acupressure points that they can use. But when you get your solar plexus chakra normalized during a stressful situation, your heart chakra can expand and then help keep you calm. It's really fun to work with couples for communication, because when the lower chakras are over exaggerated, that's a lower dense energy. So just think about when you've ever had an argument with somebody and they just can't talk, or you can't talk. Like you're just really mad, and it doesn't matter if they're telling you the truth. You know it's the truth. You're not accepting it because you're so mad, because these lower chakras are over exaggerated and taking up all this space in your body. And the higher chakras, where we think, can't function. So when we bring the lower chakras down and get your system back aligned, when you've calmed down, the next day you can have that conversation and go back and say, you know what, I'm sorry. I misunderstood what you were saying. Where at the moment, it didn't matter if that was the truth. You couldn't say that. So what I do in working with couples is to teach you to get your chakras normalized so this information can flow up and down correctly.
That is so powerful to say, because it is true. When you get so angry or so frustrated or just so emotionally tied up in a situation, it is very difficult to communicate and express how you're feeling. So knowing that working with you as a couple, they can be able to talk through each of the steps and then know what it is through your wonderful talents to help them to have the tools to actually continue the conversation. So that is very, very powerful. Now, what if you're single though, and you haven't hit that point where you have anyone to be frustrated with and you are trying to get out for the dates, you're trying to move forward, but you keep getting kind of stuck? You know, one of the challenges a lot of singles hit is too many first dates. And I feel like they have this energy block where they're actually prepared that it won't go any further. So why even really try? But they think if they show up, it helps. But through your energy work, I bet there's some chakras that could get some support that could make a difference.
Yes, so there's several things that we can do with that. There's a couple things we can do. I can first talk about just removing out blocks, which are often a lot of negative thoughts that just get trapped in your chakras. And it's like a story that keeps playing over and over and over again. Even if you tell yourself, like you pump yourself up, I'm not going to think that way anymore. And then you walk out the door and you have that same thought spinning around in your head over and over again. Maybe like a phobia we can maybe talk about. I had a client, this isn't a love related one, but was just afraid to go to the doctors. And so every time, like even if they would call to mention the appointment, she would have an anxiety attack. So we went back to the moment in time. I said, when were you first afraid of going to the doctors? Her sister used to tease her when she was a little girl about, they're going to get you, they're going to get you. So I went back in and we removed that negative memory that had created this phobia for her. And now she doesn't have fear of going to the doctors, no more anxiety attacks. So that's just one example. But I think another way to really help a single person get out the door is to really work on clearing out the past connections to their previous relationships. and cutting those cords so that they are much more open to experiencing a new relationship that's not trying to replay the negative experiences that they had before.
So what do you mean by cutting the cord? Of course, I'm a mother, so I think umbilical cord, but I also do feel like there is a cord connection. Like when you have somebody, you feel a connection. You know, I have a lot of clients that they'll get caught up in, oh, I keep hearing the songs that we used to play. It must be a sign. And I keep going to the favorite restaurants. It must be another sign. I feel like I'm supposed to wait for him. When he's gone on and started his own life, he's totally in another direction. As much as there are spiritual connections, too often we keep this cord, in my mind, of that connection, but knowing that you can actually see it and support it and break it so they can be freed. I mean, that's a lot of extra weight to carry along, all those extra relationships. So what does it mean to actually cut the cord on a Reiki level?
Right. So it's very powerful and very healing. And that's what I experienced when I first was introduced to Reiki. But we emotionally attach to previous people, places, and things. And sometimes those are very positive attachments. And then sometimes they transition into cords that I call that are inappropriate and unauthorized. So what happens when you make a love connection with somebody, that's an authorized connection and it's a love connection. But when the relationship dissolves, those cords then are changing how the contract, how they were attached to you. And that's why you physically feel sick when you go through breakups or loss, because those attachments are changing. It's almost like a really powerful detox, what we feel when a breakup happens. So I am able to energetically go in and remove those now inappropriate and unauthorized cords.
I love that phrase, inappropriate and unauthorized. I mean, really, you think about it, that person doesn't deserve your energy anymore, does not deserve your time and your thoughts. It's not always bad. I mean, some breakups are good. There's just that relationship ran its course, but they're not authorized. They don't have access to you anymore. So to know that you have a way to support that is phenomenal. And I love that. You have phrased it perfectly. Thank you.
It's very healing. It takes you from the moment where you drive down the street and you pass the gas station that you used to burst into tears because that's where you first got gas together, to where you can drive past the gas station and just like smile and wave. It removes all the emotional attachments to it. Mm-hmm. And then I repair the chakra, and then you're able to move on.
I think that is so crucial. I talk a lot about getting your voice back, getting your power back when I work with my matchmaking clients. And to hear you talk about it is exactly what they need. And sometimes, no matter how much journaling, no matter how many top 10 lists we can come up with, no matter how many positive self-talks, we need a little extra assistance. And so knowing those steps makes a difference. Is there anything that somebody can do on their own to kind of work through some of those steps, or is this something that you really need a master with you at all times to make any of these changes happen?
You can definitely cut cords and past attachments all by yourself. It takes a lot of forgiveness is the key. A lot of forgiveness.
I think it's forgiveness for both ends. Too many people want to place blame, but you were both in the relationship. And the sooner you can allow for that forgiveness, the gift you give to both people. I was just talking to a client about forgiveness of a past relationship, and he realized he was so stuck in moving forward until he forgave this person. That really was an important part of his life for a very long time, but he had to forgive the person instead of continuing to have expectations for things to improve. There is a level of understanding ever so much. So I really appreciate that you're bringing these details up. Now, what other details would you suggest for a single person looking to move forward? Or have there been people that you've worked with that you've noticed after they've dealt with a breakup, what kind of magic that you were able to contribute to healing them and helping them heal themselves?
Right. So I can help on all different levels of trauma, and everybody has a different story and, what journey they're on and what lessons they are learning. But I recently had a client who was referred to me that had just gone through a breakup. It kind of came out of left field, even though she was staying in the relationship when it really wasn't the best situation for her. So when the breakup happened, she experienced a lot of anxiety and was getting depressed. She was having a hard time getting out of bed. So they actually flew in her sister from out of town to stay with her and help her. And she does work in the medical profession. She is a nurse, and it was affecting her work. She wasn't able to go to work for a couple days and was canceling appointments, and she's a trainer. So they had reached out and scheduled some appointments with me. So on her way for her first appointment, I had received a message that basically the message was, does she know that she's not alone? So when she showed up, because of the amount of anxiety that she was having, she was waking up experiencing 2-hour anxiety attacks every morning, and she was in complete panic. The first thing that we did was get her anxiety under control. And we really did that by cutting the cords to her previous boyfriend and working through some of the trauma. And then about 3 sessions later, these were 1.5-hour sessions, she had 2 5-minute anxiety attacks in 1 week. So then we went a little bit deeper and got to the root of the problem. And it really was trauma from her childhood. Her parents had divorced at an early age. She was 3 or 4. And then her father passed away in her late teens. And then her mother passed away in her early 20s. So she really has a lot of separation issues, and just feeling like she was so afraid to be lonely that she was choosing to be in a relationship that wasn't serving her higher good. So deep in her chakras was this like programming of a fear of being alone. So she was settling, I guess is a good way to put it. So I was able to energetically go in, and I call it disintegrate. And I'm doing this with energy. And I work with crystals, so I'd like to mention that. I'm kind of a rock hound, but they just help to amplify the energy that I'm channeling. But there are different energies that you can use that disintegrate negative thoughts and emotions that are being held in your chakras. And they just kind of keep playing. It's like a story that just keeps playing over and over in your chakras. So when we pulled out and removed that fear of being alone, then we replaced it with healing energy that was the vibration of love. And then when she sat up from the table, I went in and checked energetically. I had her say out loud, her name, and I am alone. And there was no response energetically to it. So then I had her say my name and I am love. And then we got a huge response for it. So we had removed the negative thought of the trauma that she had when the loss from her childhood, and we replaced it with love. And then a week went by, she came and saw me. How's your anxiety been this week? She had 0 anxiety attacks the entire week, was feeling great. She's been glowing. Her friends are commenting how well she's doing. So she made a really miraculous recovery within about 5 weeks from where she started when she first showed up at my door to 5 weeks later. Everybody's kind of in shock how well she's doing now.
I really, really feel grateful that you're able to share that story, because people have lost so much time, so much work, so many resources recovering from a breakup that had to happen, and especially the ones that were in a situation where they shouldn't even have still been with that person in the first place. And we do that. It's protective mechanism. The fear of being alone can be more overwhelming than starting again. And it's the greatest gift you can give yourself is to actually fall back in love with who you are. And you can't do that, though, if you have an unhealthy relationship that you're staying with, or that you're still giving power to even after the breakup. So to see that regular support and working on your energy, you can actually get your power back, get your voice back, and genuinely see hope for the future. I mean, having hope is so incredibly powerful, important, and absolutely necessary. So I am really excited that you're able to share this information with us. Do you have some steps that people could do on their own? Are there some lists that they can do, things that they can say? Do you have like a top 3 thing just to kind of reground yourself, whether it's an anxiety for a date or just kind of lining themselves up on a spiritual energy? I love how you talk about different spiritual fields and thinking, okay, now what would be the next step on somebody being able to take that energy for good and really empower themselves to feel stronger to move forward?
I teach everybody belly breaths. So it's a deep breath with your belly. You want to send it out with a deep breath in, hold it, and then when you blow it out, your belly goes back in. It takes 12 deep belly breaths to stop an anxiety attack in the beginning. Once you get used to it, you can do it a little bit faster. I like to breathe in and I expand my heart chakra. And when I breathe out, I say normalize to my solar plexus. And that'll really calm you down. And whenever you start feeling that anxiety or your voice starts shaking or you get a little anxious going on a date, just do those in the car and it'll calm you right down. I really like using essential oils. Geranium is great for heart love. And then I love crystals. I mean, I would recommend anybody to get pink. Oh, now I'm losing the name. What's that one called? Rose quartz. Sorry, I blanked on the name for a second. But I carry rocks in my handbag. So I would definitely recommend having rose quartz on you with any sort of a date. Energy is vibration. Love is vibration. And when you set the desire to send out that vibration, you're going to attract it back to you. The intention of sending out love, you're going to bring it back.
I am so impressed that you're telling us about oils and crystals. That fascinates me, and I really don't know them well at all. I just have so many good friends that have told me about it. But there is something really to be said about having the rose quartz crystal. I've heard about that. So what does the crystal do for you? Why would you have that in your pocket?
It's a vibration. So everything is literally a vibration and things vibrate at different levels. So it sends out, it softens the way that somebody receives what you're saying, because it just softens. So we use rose quartz in Reiki when we work on children, because it softens the energy as they receive it. So if you even have like a work appointment or maybe like a conversation you're going to be having with somebody, you're not sure how it's going to go, bring rose quartz with you because it helps them to receive what you're saying in a softer way.
Oh, how beautiful is that? I love it. And it is so important when you go in with that intention. You go in with the intention to give love, receive love, and not pre-decide where your date's going, because if you have the right energy going, you can manifest a lot more. People tend to go in pretty much often expecting it not to work. That's sad but true, but because in the dating world, it's kind of been a little too many first date, no second date. So go in there with some rose quartz can really make a difference. And now you've also brought about essential oils. Which are the ones you're saying? I want to make sure everybody that's listening right now can take some specific notes. And then what do you do with those oils once you have them?
Geranium is great for the heart chakra. You can just put a couple drops on your heart chakra. Cinnamon is always a good one because it's a warming, red hot one. It's more for the lower chakras. Vetiver, I hope I'm saying that right. I always say it wrong, but it's just a warming, grounding oil, essential oil, and it smells so good on women. Like even if you put it on as a woman, other women will be like, "What are you wearing? What is that?" Of course, lavender is going to keep you calm and relaxed. Bergamot is nature's Valium. So if you do get a little bit stressed out before you go on a date, I would definitely suggest putting a drop of bergamot on before you walk into the date.
That is a good list. I hope everyone's got their pen and paper and is making note, because there's a curiosity to it. And those that already use essential oils and crystals might not know about those specific ones. So I'm really thankful that you're giving very detailed tips for our incredible Discover Love Academy members. So we're just about out of time, and I would really, really, really look forward to having just a little extra tidbit from you. How should we tie up all this great knowledge into a pretty little bow so that our wonderful, wonderful members are going to be able to take some action on what you have just shared? You have given such a wealth of information, and I really appreciate all that you've done, Cathy.
Thank you. I would just be aware that energy flows, and you don't have to live with stuck energy, stuck emotions. There's a way to help get it out and repair everything. And healing is there for everybody. Love is available to everybody. It's easy when we open ourselves up to it to attract it back.
Thank you. Cathy, you have really brought up a very important last point. Love is available for everybody. As a professional matchmaker for so many years, I have matched all types of people. And I've even had people come up to me and go, well, if you can match him, you can match anybody. And they say it jokingly because they think that that person's like a forever bachelor, or they think that, you know, maybe they've got too many quirks. But you know what? Somebody else loves their quirks. It's not about you changing for somebody, but it's about you opening up and making room for somebody, allowing the energy to come in, and having yourself in alignment with another person. So sounds like Reiki work would be really helpful for someone that's feeling very stuck in their own dating journey, somebody that is confused on how to just project the right energy on a date or preparing for a date. So all of these steps are very, very powerful. Also on these individuals that are listening right now, our incredible members, to empower their own lives, because it sounds like a lot of these tools could help you in many other aspects. I am so thankful that you've given of your time and your expertise, and I am so looking forward to your next presentation next quarter. So thank you, Cathy, and we will learn more soon.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.